Hi, this is Galen H2O. Welcome to another gear and review. I want to start off by saying I know it's been like, God, at least 12 months, I think, since my last review or upload or whatever. We're back. We hope to be doing some pretty good, pretty cool reviews and projects and stuff coming up, I think. I'm definitely moving forward on the recording project. That's coming along really well. Since the last time I posted, I guess the biggest thing is I'm no longer in the Greensboro area. Now I'm living in Knoxville, Tennessee. It's pretty cool. Still getting acclimated to the area, the people in the scene here, but it's slowly but surely coming along. A little preview of some things that are going to be coming up. I'll definitely be doing a review of some pedals. The pedals that I plan to be reviewing in up and coming months is going to be the Full Tone Secret Freak cool pedal. I plan on doing a review of the Fuchs, I always mess this name up, Cerberus. I plan on doing a review of the Fuchs Plus Cerberus Tri-Mode Distortion. For some of you guys that remember when I did the the Tone Technologies triple drive pedal. It's similar to that pedal, not quite as much gain, but there are a lot of similarities between those two, so I really like this pedal as well. Going to be doing one on the Bugera Vintage 22. That's pretty much all I can think of that's coming up, except for the product review that we have for you today.
This is Galen H2O. Welcome to another product review. After watching a bunch of YouTube videos of a new product from a company called, make sure I don't get their name wrong, 4Force.
What they had decided that they wanted to do was make a company where they would make one affordable guitar gear, and they wanted to make it. They wanted to make some significant, what they considered significant upgrades to the way solid-state amps were manufactured, and ergonomically make some enhancements.
So what they did is they made a 5-watt amp. They created it out of the housing is actually made out of a molded plastic, and the shape of it is more, or is kind of like a wedge, so that the speaker is tilted slightly upward, so that the projection is actually toward the guitar player. So you can monitor yourself using the amp by itself.
Comes with a 10-inch speaker and a metal grill. Not sure exactly who makes the speaker, or whether or not it's probably an OEM product, either manufactured by or that they've had made by a third party.
But it can also power an external speaker cabinet. The controls, rather simple: volume, bass, mids, treble, and gain, and it's pretty much it. It's like a one-channel thing. I kind of pride myself on giving very honest product reviews, so we're going to start off with the things about the amp that I really did like. One, I love the fact that it was lightweight. I thought that was cool. I mean, you can actually pick this amp up with your pinky. It weighs absolutely nothing. The compact size, that it fits in a very small profile in either your room or on a stage, so that also lended to some of its attractiveness. I like the design of the cabinet as far as the speaker being tilted upright. I thought that was pretty cool. So all that, the type of material they used to build it, the size of the unit and the weight, I thought were really good. really good choices. And I actually do like the sound of the clean channel. Well, I won't say clean channel, the sound of it when it's not, when the gain's not really cranked, which is not a bad sound. They're using something that they call tube illusion technology, which is just another company's, another solid state company's version of some sort of tube emulation, but it doesn't sound bad. The only problem I have with the clean is that with it only being 5 watts, and it's 5 solid state watts, not 5 tube watts, and a lot of people will argue the difference of those two, but brief quickie lesson is watts are not a measurement of sound. Watts are a measurement of energy. Decibels are a measurement of sound. So you can have 2 amps that are both rated at the same wattage, and there can be a considerable difference in the actual output of the amp. This 5 watt amp, it can get loud. The problem is getting it loud and clean, because in order to get a decent amount of volume, you do have to start bringing the gain knob up. So then you have to kind of start to strike a balance between volume and clean. Because like I said, I do like the clean. I do like the clean on it, and it's responsive, and it also does, like some solid state amps aren't really responsive, so when you change things on your guitar, you don't really necessarily hear that big of a change in the amp. But with this one, you do it with bridges. Go to the neck, middle, roll the tone off. So I mean, you can hear a difference in the signal when you adjust it to the guitar as far as the amp goes. So it is responsive to, on the input side. I am not a huge fan of the amp's distorted sounds on its own. Has nothing to do with it being solid state. I'm not one of those guys that's like an tube snob that believes that you can't get a good sound out of a solid state amp. I think that you have bad amps on both sides of the fence. There are bad solid state amps, and there are really good sounding solid state amps, and there are bad sounding tube amps and really good sounding tube amps. And anyone that doesn't believe that you can get a good sound using a solid state piece of equipment, I dare you to go back and listen to the first 3 King's X albums and tell me that they don't sound good, because that's all Gibson L5 Lab Series amps, which were solid state. So I mean, you can get good sounds out of a good solid state amp, and no one can tell me that a Roland Jazz Chorus doesn't sound good, and that is also a complete solid state circuit. So you can have good tone with a solid state amp. I think that the type of distortion that the amp does on its own does appeal to a certain type of player, and we'll show it real quick. It's not quite focused enough for this type of stuff that I do, but kind of, to me, it has that frazzly on the edge 70s kind of feel to it. But that's not exactly a sort of sound I would go for in a solid state or two, but I do like the clean sound. And it does a blues game type thing. I'm just using a Fuchs Plus Cerberus, I can never pronounce it, Cerberus tri-mode overdrive pedal. So I mean, it takes that, still comes back to it.
full tone Secret Freak. Loud, it's still a clean signal. I'm just kind of stacking those two on top of each other through here, and you get that. Now, I like the sound of this one. Me personally, I think that is the sort of thing that the amp really excels at. Because with that right there, I'm not running any compression. I'm not running any reverb, no chorus, no nothing. That is just a completely dry signal, guitar middle position straight into the amp, and it sounds really nice. And like I said, I do think it sounds good when you could take a pedal and just kind of to make it sound just a little bit more bigger. There's a little hair on it, not much, but you're like. It just gives that that little kind of like mild, almost starting to break up kind of marshally thing with that Fuchs pedal in the front end of it, and I think it sounds really good doing that. I don't think it's a bad product. I think it's a good starting point for 4/4s. I think it's good for a low volume practice amp. I think you could do some recording with it as well, depending on what type of stuff you're recording. If you're going to record metal stuff through it, just by the stuff that I was able to pull out of it, I would say no to the metal stuff. If you're doing jazz, some clean jazz and some mild fusion type stuff, I say definitely you could do it. I would probably suggest maybe a bigger, possibly better speaker upgrade. Things that I think would make this actually a really good amp. Like I said, I do think it's a very good starting spot. Number one, an effects loop. I think would have been something that wouldn't have been that hard to include into the product. An effects loop would be nice. I think 5 watts with the output that this thing is putting out, if you're going to run it as a single channel item and want to have the option to run it clean and hit it with the pedals on the front end, I think 5 watts isn't going to be enough for this amp. I think you're going to need to step it up up to probably around about at least 20. So it's going to need, for me, to recommend it for like a gigging amp, it would need an effects loop. Would have to have the wattage increased to somewhere between 20 and 30 watts. Move away from the 10-inch speaker, move to a 12-inch speaker, probably more of a name brand speaker. Or it doesn't have to be, because Bulgara makes a good speaker. That vintage speaker they have is pretty good. So I'm not going to say they have to add a name brand speaker to it, but probably a better speaker than what's in there, or at least a bigger speaker. The other thing I would do is the distortion circuit definitely needs to be tweaked. It needs to be tighter and a little more. That would be me. I think it needs to be more distortion. It needs to be tighter. So they need to probably, when it comes to solid state technology, I'm not exactly sure. I know that sometimes we use diode clipping and tube amps to kind of smooth out the distortion. I don't know if diode clipping is the same, that they do the exact same thing in solid state amps. If that's the case, maybe you need to switch out the diode that you're using for something with a different tolerance on it. Make the distortion a little tighter. Make it something, a little more usable. But like I said, as it is, without changing the gain circuit, it will be fine, but it's going to need a little more power. The reason I did the review in the way I did is because, I think, pretty much all gear has some redeeming qualities. I mean, there's something that appeals to everybody. The key, I think, to a good product review is not to necessarily overly go over everything that it does bad, and then not everything it does good, not tell people to think it does bad so that they buy it and they get it and go like, oh, no one ever mentioned this, and then it's also vice versa. It's not good to go in and point out everything that's horrible about the amp, not point out things that are good. So I tried to highlight the things I thought it did the best, and tell you about the things and show you some of the things that I didn't necessarily like that much about what it did, and that's what this is. So it's probably my most mellow, sedate product review to date. Don't really know what else to say about it, except for this is Gil Show. This has been another gear review, and that has been the 4-Force EM-1.